these investors don't necessarily own as much of the market as people believe they do. I would say they own probably less than 5% of the overall housing market in the United States. And so what they're trying to do, right, is they're trying to provide housing for people that can't necessarily afford a home, which is exactly what's happening right now.
Welcome to Real Estate Success Partner. We're your hosts, Devin, Dubuc,
David, Nguyen,
and we're here to talk about how to have great success in every market. And this time, we're back in our home state of Texas, and you've got somebody pretty epic today. Who'd you bring on, Dave?
I do. I got Craig Williams, the Williams Real Estate Investment Team. Kind of a unique guy. He's just not a normal realtor. He represents the big companies that are buying up all the real estate that everybody's is wondering what the heck's going on. So we're going to get a lot of insight from Craig today. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be on.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that we kind of clear the air here when we talk about investment companies buying up the properties, because I think there's a little negative innuendo that a lot of folks think there. And we've had a lot of time to talk and explore with Craig, and that's not what his team's all about. So, at the end of the day, I think this will be a little bit of an educational process and, give some folks some clarification about what some of these great investment groups are doing to stimulate our economy. So we're super happy to have you here today, Craig. And let's talk a little bit about it. So where are you located? What's your market?
Yeah, so we're a boutique firm. Catapult Realty Partners is the main firm, and we're based in Dallas, Texas. Actually, we cover everywhere from Texas to Florida, pretty much across the Southeast. That's basically where the investors want to be, and the areas that we know the best, right? So we can actually be an asset in those places. But we've specialized in, working mainly with investors, and from your big investors down. We do work with with the guy that just has some extra money and wants to go buy a house and flip it, or wants to try to start building a portfolio himself. So whether they've raised capital to go out and buy thousands and thousands of homes, or whether they've, it's just somebody that's selling their house and wants to buy a new one and lease it out, we've helped those people as well. But what we focused on, is kind of the soup. We try to do the kind of the soup to nuts from when a group comes into a new territory. We'll use DFW as an example. It's our home area, and we've done most of our work here. When they come into a new territory, we typically will do is we'll help them kind of create a buy box, right? Okay, so what areas do you need to go into? What zip codes work? What rents are you trying to achieve? What type of property do you need to achieve that rent? And so we'll work with them on that to kind of create that buy box and try to help them find the areas that are going to work to provide the most yield for their investors. Because a lot of times, it's not necessarily their money, right? So they're coming in, they've got other people's money that they need to invest, and they need to be good stewards of that money. And so we've got a fiduciary responsibility to assist them in that, right? So, we try to buy good product and find good homes that people are going to want to be there. These people buy homes and they hold on to them. They're they do get a lot of bad publicity, like we talked about. Everybody thinks, the big bad groups are coming in here and they're buying up all the properties, making the house prices go up. And if it wasn't for them, no telling what this real estate market would have looked like after 2007, 2008. It would have been pretty rough. So I think they did a good job there. Most of these groups coming in with what they were doing then. And being able to provide housing for those people that had lost their homes due to the mortgage crisis and the things that we went through, in the mid to late 2000s. So, that's basically, what we try to do. And once we get to know a group and once we get to know a client, we work with them to help them figure out, where do you want to go next? Can we help you in that area? If it's in Texas, it's kind of a no-brainer. We've got relationships all throughout the state. And we've bought and sold homes in every major MSA here. We do that on a daily basis. And we've now decided that Texas, while as big as it is, there's certain challenges in Texas. Property tax is a challenge for these groups, and rents can only go so high. It's got to keep up with what people can afford. So eventually, eventually you got to go on, right, and try to expand. So that's what kind of caused us to go out and find other areas where we could be licensed, and they could go in and they could do the same thing. So we've got partners in each of these, each of the other territories that kind of help us where we wouldn't necessarily have boots on the ground. They allow us to have boots on the ground. So that's been kind of the goal of late. The last couple of years is to kind of expand that way and help where we can when, basically whatever our clients need, we're going to go out and try to figure out how to do.
Well, how do you guys go about that, right? It sounds like you're armed with a lot of information so that you can help folks find the right property or properties in your case. We know there's a lot of stuff out there to search from, especially right now. We're back in a market where we're starting to see some inventory hit the ground. But what kind of research goes into be able to providing those statistics? You guys got a lot on your plate with that, right? How's that look? How do you guys do that?
Well, a lot of it's just market knowledge from being in the market. Right. I think you can look at statistics all day long. Look at John Burns. Look at any of the real estate statisticians that are out there that will provide you information. And we do that. We go to conventions. We try to be plugged in as much as we can. But it's the boots on the ground and the individuals that really know what's going on. We can look at stats all day long. I mean, I listened to a talk the other day where people were talking about how rents across the country have actually dipped 0.8% over the last few years. And while that's true, that's a nationwide thing. We can't work off that statistic because we're in Texas. We're in Florida. We're in these states where it's gone the other direction.
Going up.
And so you don't know that if you're not there. Right. And so I think that's really where our biggest asset comes from, is our knowledge, just the market knowledge of where we are on a daily basis. I mean, we drive these properties. We don't just send out emails with, hey, here's an offer, and try to lowball things. When we're working with our clients, we actually know what they're buying, help them figure out, okay, we know the rent's going to be this. This is what's out there. This is what we're seeing on a daily basis. And we know that you're probably going to need to put this much into the house because it's going to need granite countertops. It's going to need some type of hard surface floors. It's going to need, new paint. It's going to need this, that, the other thing. And we're able to kind of, because of the homes that we've already bought and sold and where we've seen the market go, that's kind of where we pull those statistics, is we say, okay, based on what we've seen, this is what we're seeing. Yeah. So it narrows it down, and it's a lot more, it's a lot more acute than if you were to look at a broad statistic from, one of these other shops that's providing those statistics, right? Not that those statistics aren't helpful. They're very helpful, because then you can you're able to gauge where you are against the national averages, and you're able to gauge, the different areas. So I think that, you have to have it all, but the benefit that we have is that we do have people there. We do know what's going on, and we actually talk to agents, right? That's kind of become a lost thing where people don't really talk to people, and we do. So we really pride ourselves in that, being very high touch in the market, and being able to have those conversations and really understand what's going on. Because numbers may say one thing, but, perception is another thing, right? And you kind of have to know what both of them are.
Yeah. So you guys are out there, you scoop up the properties, and then what are you doing with them, right? So they're going to these investment portfolios, and what's that look like?
So, right now these investors don't necessarily own as much of the market as people believe they do. I would say they own probably less than 5% of the overall housing market in the United States. And so what they're trying to do, right, is they're trying to provide housing for people that can't necessarily afford a home, which is exactly what's happening right now. So when they do that, what they want to do is they want to provide a nice home. And, renters are staying in places longer. They're not moving after a year. Their leases, they'll go year to year. They'll sign 18 months. They'll sign 24 months. They find places they like, and they're staying longer. It's not a every 6 month type, jump here, jump there.
That's right.
So when they do that, they want to buy a home that's a home, right? They don't want to buy a product. They don't want to buy a property. They want to buy a home. They want to buy something that someone views as a home, because they want them to stay there as long as they can too, right? So what we help them do is we help them find those areas where they're in neighborhoods that are gonna remain good neighborhoods, nice neighborhoods, right? The house values are going to continue to increase. People are taking care of their yards. People are painting their homes. People are, updating, restaining their fences, and they go in and they make sure if these things aren't being done to that home that they do them. And they've got, they want a home where they want to be able to do the minimal thing that they can do, right? If they don't have to put in countertops, they don't want to, but they want it to have nice countertops, right? Yeah. They know what's important in real estate because, well, we talk to them and tell them, people care about kitchens, people care about bathrooms. I mean, people care about these things. So, so that's kind of our goal is to help our clients find those properties where they're in those neighborhoods with the least amount of work needed to where they can get into it and get it turned and get it leased quickly. I think that's, being expeditious is probably one of the most important parts of it. Not having that house sit there for a long time. Weird things happen to homes when they're vacant and nobody wants a vacant house.
Right. So
the goal is to find it and put them in a place where they can succeed and they can have it leased quickly. And then they're helping that family, right? They're helping whoever it is that needs to be in that house for whatever reason that they're there in life, whether they're, something bad happened that led them down the road where they had to move, or if something great happened that gave them that next opportunity and they need something quick. This is a solution for them. So that's what our goals are when we're out looking for the homes. And then on the flip side of that, we're also helping them, or not really on the flip side, I guess it's more just adjacent. We're also helping them, find homes that are already leased. Sometimes they just need density, right? They've got teams that are in these areas that are going around that are, maintenance teams that are going around working on homes. And if they only have one home in Fort Worth and they've got, 100 homes in Dallas, they need more homes in Fort Worth, yeah. Right? So, and they need them as quickly as they can possibly get them. And so maybe they need a portfolio. Maybe somebody's got, 100 homes in Fort Worth that they've been leasing for a while, and they're already leased. Their tenants are going to be in there for a while, but they just they're ready to move on and do something different, because that happens, right? Sometimes people they've done the single family thing. Maybe now they want to go buy an office complex, or maybe now they want to go buy an apartment building or something like that. So we'll help put those people together too, so that they can do that and fill that density. And then once that happens, if they're on the other side of that and they're like, okay, we've been in this area long enough, it's time to move to this area. We're going to reallocate this money and we need to sell those properties. We list properties for our clients all the time as well. Whether they want to list them and sell them on the MLS, or whether they want to trade them off market, and try to trade them as a portfolio.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit, because you talked about a lot of stuff here. And, again, one of the misconceptions is these investors are out there and they're scooping up all this property and, we're trying to force people into renting. And that's certainly not the case here. In fact, what you said specifically was there's a lot of homeowners, non-homeowners that just can't qualify for a house right now for various reasons. And we know a lot of those reasons, right? One of the big things that we've had come up in our economy is we did have some unemployment issues. We seem to have been recovered from that. But what we've also found is the average consumer who's recovered from unemployment is also being compensated less. So now we have more people that have jobs, but they're actually making less money. And as a result of that, it's making it harder to qualify. In addition to that, we have seen homes appreciate, and they continue to appreciate. Mortgage rates have gone up. And while a lot of people have the misconception that a 7% rate or a 6.5% rate is high, it's really closer to the national average, but it doesn't change the fact that when income has gone down and housing has gone up, it makes it difficult for folks to qualify, but that doesn't mean these people shouldn't have a home. And that's the solution that you guys are bringing forward. And not only are you bringing forward the opportunity to create more affordable housing for the people that need it, right? But you're also making sure that these aren't slumlord homes. These homes are being identified, they're being brought up to the current market, the current standards, so that when the homeowners that need the home buyers or Americans that need these homes, take it upon themselves to reach out to your investors, they know that it's a product they can stand behind, that it's a place that they can call home, and despite the fact that they don't have the ability to be able to purchase today, they've got a place for their families to grow up, and a great place, and that's because of you guys. That's because you guys are out there doing the hard part, which is finding these great places and bringing these homes up to a current standard, and that's a beautiful thing, right? That's a beautiful
absolutely.
thing. And you've got maintenance crews now that are going out to these properties and they're cleaning them up. They're staining the fences and they're putting in new countertops and they're upgrading these properties. So we're also helping clean up America. And I think that's a really important point to get across because, yes, there's folks behind the scenes that are making money off of these investments, but they're not making the money off of others' misfortunes. Right. Actually, helping people who are having misfortunes find a home, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's one of the things we wanted to showcase today.
Yeah, and to add to that, they're not taking that home off the market for good, right? They're gonna keep that home for a certain period of time, and then it's gonna enter the marketplace again. So maybe it's and we have a lot of groups that are out there now that they took it a step further. And I really like working with these groups. They've done some great things, and they've taken it a step further from just saying, "Hey, we're going to go find you, or provide you with a really nice place to live in a place you can call home, and it's going to be affordable because you can't, because rates are where they are, and it is what it is, and inflation, and everybody's not made as much money as they were,
for some reason.
For whatever reason it is, right? But you know what? You can qualify to rent with us, and while you're renting with us, we're going to give you the opportunity to buy this house.
There it is.
And there's groups out there that have done that, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Yeah. And so they go out, they find the home, they lease it for a short period of time, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, and at the end of that time, now all of a sudden, hey, we've got a plan in place where I'm purchasing this thing from my landlord. I've taken care of the home myself because I knew it was going to be something I wanted.
That's right.
And they've taken all the stress of early on home ownership out of it, and they've done all the work that I would have had to have done. And I've saved all this money, and now I can afford to do it. Right.
Well, you're giving them an opportunity to get to the point where they're mortgage ready, where they can qualify. And they've got a beautiful place that they can call home with an end game. This might be my home if I do the things that are necessary to achieve home ownership.
Yep, absolutely. And it's a great thing, and the companies that have started to do that and kind of move towards that model, I think are going to be very successful in the long run. I think, right now it's really early for a lot of them. And I think that the timing of it, because that's the other thing. They have debt on these homes too. That's right. So, they're fighting against interest rates as well. And so I think right now they definitely slowed down, but I think that, in time we know that things go like this, right? So it's going to go up, it's going to go down. We're going to get back to a spot where it's just going to level out and people are going to understand, okay, this is just what it is. And either way, they're going to continue to be able to grow, and they'll grow at a faster rate than they are now. And I think that's going to be really great for, for young families and Americans out there that want to, have that American dream of owning the home and doing that. And their programs are pretty fantastic. So I'm pretty proud to get to work with some of those guys.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I think it's a good opportunity for people.
You're helping to create the American dream and not what a lot of folks think, which is just buying up all the eligible properties. You guys are building properties and making them safe and affordable, and then helping folks find ways to become homeowners. I think it's a beautiful thing what you guys are doing. Now, I want to talk on the flip side of this real quick. So, you mentioned earlier on, you've got investors that are purchasing thousands of properties, but you have investors that are also purchasing, 1-2 properties as well. What does that look like, right? So I'm out there, and let's talk about this, because what we know is a lot of folks, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, we've seen tremendous equity in this area, and a lot of folks have not tapped into that equity, and for a lot of reasons, right? But at the end of the day, if I'm out there and I've got, $500,000 in equity in my home, and I'm looking to make an investment in real estate, what does that look like, right? How do we approach you with that? How do we find those perfect homes? And do we buy one house? Do we buy multiple houses? Do we finance some? Do we pay cash? What's your recommendation?
Well, it depends, right? It depends on a lot of things. That's a good question, because it depends on what's your main goal, right? I'm sure you guys have these conversations all the time with your clients on, it's ultimately, where do you really want to be and what do you really want to do? Yeah. Do you want to be a landlord? that's not as easy as it sounds. So if you really want to manage properties and really want to be a landlord, then, hey, if that's the goal, then there's one route to take. If you want to place your hard-earned dollars and your equity in a home you have currently, and you want to just kind of outpace the market a little bit, and you think you can do it in real estate, which is proven that you can,
right.
then and it's a long-term investment for you, then there's a way to do that too, right? There's groups out there that you can go and just invest with, and they'll say, okay, we're going to go over here and we're going to buy homes in Lubbock, Texas, or wherever it may be, Dallas or Houston or wherever, and they're going to say all of our houses are going to look like this, right? How much do you want to invest? And you'll be a part owner in these. There's groups out there that'll do that. So I would say for somebody that, maybe is a young individual that maybe has a couple $100,000 in equity in their current home, and they're looking to do something, they might want to pull out 50 and go, throw it at the real estate market. I think that's a great way to do it. I think that would be a good way to do it.
Become
that way,
partner, right? So you have a percentage, but that percentage is going to grow over time, and you're not taking everything that you've got. You're taking a limited amount of money that you've got, so that you got a small investment, but it's not a short-term gain. This is something that we're looking at for the long haul to build wealth in real estate.
Absolutely, and it's a great way to start. And it's one of those situations where you're somewhat diversified, because you might own a little piece of a lot of homes.
That's right.
And there's opportunities for you to come in and out of it. You don't have to hold it for the entire time. And these companies manage it for you and do everything for you, so you don't have to do any work, right? There's no sweat equity involved. It's just, hey, here's my money, go invest it, let's do it. I like that house. I'd like to say I own it, right? And people love to drive by and say, hey, I own that. And so it's a cool thing to be able to do. And if you can do it with just a small amount of your equity, it's great. So I'd say that would be the first part. After that, if you want to actually own another home, and I think a great thing to do right now is, if you wanted to own another home and you had the money to do it, and let's say you had more equity to pull out. Let's say you could pull out a few $100,000, and you could go and you can invest that in a home on a lake, or on a river, or a beach house or something like that, or a condo even. You can go do that and do short-term rental. Right. That way you get to use the property when you want to. And then when you're not using the property as a vacation property, then you've got that investment that you've made, and you're generating a return based on leasing it out throughout the weekends or during the week, depending upon where it is. I personally love the short-term rental game. I think it's fantastic in certain areas. I think it's great. We go up to Broken Bow in Oklahoma quite a bit. Yeah, and and I mean those people must be making. I missed the boat on that one. I wish I would have known about it sooner.
15 years ago, you would have done really
absolutely
well, up some land out there.
Absolutely. Who would have thought? Who would have thought in Oklahoma that little spot of Oklahoma was going to be such a destination? But and that's what those people did, right? Those people they went out and they said, hey, we like coming here. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try to lease it out when I'm not there. And I know people that have done that, and they've ended up buying 4 and 5 of them.
That's right.
Because they can't ever use it, because it's always leased. And it's a great problem to have. So I think that's a great
at the price
great opportunity.
They charge for those rentals, it's a phenomenal problem to have.
Oh, phenomenal problem. Yeah. So I think those are the two of the smaller ways, to kind of get started. Or if you just want a house that's in your hometown that you can drive by and look at, and be a landlord, you can do that. It's there's companies out there that can manage those properties for you if you want to. And the rule is what I've always been told, and it's own 2 or 20. Don't go out and try to manage 5 by yourself. It's that's going to be a challenge. You're going to run yourself ragged. You're not going to make any money. And you'll end up making money when you sell the properties, but from your day to day, you're just going to run yourself ragged.
Well, let's take this back just a little bit, just because we've talked about a lot here. We got to unpack it again. So, effectively, let's say that we do want to go ahead and purchase, and we need a rental company. Is that something that you can help provide? Is that one of the services that you guys provide, or do we have to go out and find that on our own?
So we'll find that for you, depending upon where you are. We have preferred people that we work with that we're not necessarily work with or a part of, but we know, hey, this is a good group over here. They do a really good job. We would recommend them. Yeah, we can definitely refer you to those groups. We're not in property management. We don't want to be in property management. You know, we kind of found our niche and what we're good at, and we kind of stay there.
But you've been in the industry long enough. You've established the relationships. You know the folks that you can trust. And that way you can be a one-stop shop. Even if we're not doing everything with you, you're going to be able to give great referral sources for, you know, hey, here's where you can get some financing if you need the financing. Here's where you can get somebody to manage the property if you need to manage the property. You guys have those resources, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Like we like to say, you know, everything from soup to nuts. From the first day you walk in, trying to figure out what do I do and how do I do this. You know, we can help you underwrite it to determine what your returns are going to be. We can help you, you know, find the area that you want to be in, whether you want long term, short term, whatever type of rental that you want. Help you determine how long you need to hold it. You know, maybe you want to hold it for 5 years, 10 years. Maybe you think you only want to try it for a year or two, right? We can help you model that stuff out and determine if that's a good way to go. And then again, you know, turn to people like you guys for some assistance with some loans, and then anything else you need along the way. You know, we've got contractors we work with on a daily basis if you need rehab. We've got maintenance teams that we know about that are with property management groups, and so. We've got all those relationships, and we don't mind sharing them at all. That's what we're here for.
Well, I'm glad you went there because that's what I want to make sure, you know, if we've got folks that are out there watching this and going, man, but I could never make that happen. It wouldn't work. I don't have the resources. But you guys do. And that's why I want to take it from the approach of, I know nothing. Help me. There's one more piece I want to touch on, and I can tell Dave's got a question too, so we'll lean into him here in a minute. But you talk about investing into a large portfolio where effectively I own just a little percentage of a larger picture. Let's say that I do that. Let's say I take my money. And again, you know, I think it's important that we know because these are questions that come up in people's minds when they're thinking about this, right? So I invest that money, something happens, and I need it back. Am I out that $50,000 and just can't get it back for a specific period of time? How does that look? What does that process look like?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'd be irresponsible if I answered it just saying this is the way it works, because there's different ways that I've heard that it works, and I personally haven't done it. I just know people that have. Right. And there's different milestones to where you can move money, take money, and it depends on who the group is that you're with, what type of properties they buy and where. Yeah. Some properties turn over faster than others. You know, if you're going to be if you're investing in a property that's in properties that are, you know, in major MSAs like DFW or Houston, those properties more than likely will probably turn over a little faster because you got people coming in, moving jobs, doing different things. If you're investing in, and I keep using Lubbock, Texas, because the last person I helped, they did one out there. Right. And those people are going to probably hold on to those properties longer. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it just kind of depends on, again, it kind of comes back to your goals and what you need. So there are ways that if you need access to that money down the road, you can get it. Absolutely.
What you're going to do is you're going to sit down, you're going to dive in, you're going to look at what their goals are, as you've mentioned. You're going to look at the different formats. It sounds like there's about 3 different opportunities there that you can really look into. And at the end of the day, you're going to help align them with the one that's going to meet their financial goals the best, right? And help them find an investment group if that's the direction they're going to turn. And at that point in time, all the specifics as to what that's going to look like is going to unfold based upon the group that they pick. Is that a fair?
Absolutely. Yep. That's perfect. That's a great analysis. Yeah.
Well, hey, Greg, man, everybody wants to know. You didn't just become a realtor for an investor. How'd you get started, man? How long ago did you do this? What did you do? Did you start to be a realtor and also advance? What? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Woke up
basically, I snapped
I'm doing real estate, right?
Yeah. Couldn't wait, man. Couldn't wait. I started telling my parents that they painted their door the wrong color and we couldn't sell their house that way. And no, I'm just joking. I've done a lot of different things. Out of college, I sold cell phones out of college, sold cars, ended up selling gas for a while. And then while I was doing that, the company, there was a position they had created that I was going to take, but I needed an MBA. So we had moved to DFW. I was actually in mortgages for just a little while, but it was 2003, 2004, and it didn't last at that time, you know.
Oh, I was in the market.
So yeah, it was rough. And so I went back to get my MBA at SMU. And when I went back to my MBA, I met Chris Marr, who is the broker of record for Catapult Realty Partners and the founder of Catapult Realty. And he and I became best friends. And we wanted to work together early on, but he wasn't in real estate at the time. Neither was I. He jumped into it immediately. And, he partnered with some great people. And he was working with some of these companies that when they first got off the ground. Right. And so he kind of built that and started it. And then I went and I was a consultant for a packaging company and a few other things. And then finally just kind of made my way back to him. And he had told me one day, he said, "Hey, I've got a new group coming on. I'm going to need some help. And, if you're still looking to do it, now's a great time to jump ship and, come get into real estate." And so I said, "All right, let's activate this license and let's get going." So that's what got me back into it. And ever since then, it's just been pedal to the metal, going as hard as we could, looking for any way to grow the company and to expand into, different parts of real estate. So it's been a blessing and a curse all at the same time sometimes, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So
you're kind of a unique realtor. I mean, I don't see you feet on the ground, going from house to house and stuff like that. Is a lot of it just on the computer? Do you have a team that sends you stuff? What's that team look like? What?
Yeah, so we do. Funny enough, we haven't really done much when it comes to social media. Yeah. We've just started jumping into this. I think you and I talked about it. That's something that because of the network that we've had, we've kind of played everything, just kind of operated in the shadows, right? We didn't necessarily want people to know who we were. Yeah. We don't really know why it got that way, but that's just where we were. We were kind of like this little secret that if you knew about us, you loved us and you wanted to work with us. If you didn't know about us, you didn't know about us, right? And, we would form our relationships through, going to conferences like the IMN conference. They do a couple of those a year. They do one for long-term rental or two for long-term rental. They do one for short-term rental. They do some for multifamily, do some for a lot of different things. So we've kind of used that network, our network from SMU, and, just our personal friendships as we've kind of grown. And then, when people started sitting on the sidelines, we've started having to get a little bit more creative. So now what we've started doing is we started looking more into social media, marketing that way, reaching out to investors that way, which has been great. And we're looking at each other thinking, why did we never do this before? And it's hard times will make you really sit back and reevaluate and make changes, right? And if you don't make the changes, then you're going to be forced to make a change.
We call that? We call that swimming naked. And when the tide comes in, man, you know what's working and what's not.
Absolutely. So that's what we've done a lot. And our partners, we've had a lot of other real estate agents and brokers in these other areas that we've, maintained our relationships with them, and we've worked with them, and they've, we make sure we treat everybody right. If you're going to help us we can't get down to San Antonio this week, and we've got, a group that wants to list 10 houses, and we can't do it this week ourselves. So, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to work with you. You're going to be our boots on the ground for this one. And, we'll take care of you on the commission and make sure that you get, that everything's fair and you guys get paid for it. And a lot of times what we've been able to do is we've been able to go in and what we really like to do is find the new realtors that are with groups that we've worked with and other brokerages that we've worked with that are having a hard time and struggling. And we like to help introduce them into, hey, this is another avenue, right? This is something that we do. And if it's something that's interesting to you, we always need people in different places. Right. We can talk about how can you help us now with what we're working on, whether it's just running and putting a sign or putting a super or something like that, or whether it's underwriting and figuring out, does this work, and if they want to learn and they want to get into it, then, that's something that we enjoy doing. We enjoy helping people by doing that as well. And that's really been how we've kind of maintained, because working with the groups that we work with and working with investors, it's more cyclical than it is working with individuals. Yeah. There's always going to be individual buyers. There may just be less, right? But when institutional groups quit buying, every institutional group quits buying.
Right.
So, you've got to figure something else out, or you're just not going to make money for however long they're not going to buy. And, we've been blessed enough that we just run our mouths enough and work hard enough that we've made it through those times. Right. And we've made changes and figured it out. So, and that's what has allowed us to kind of keep the relationships we have and continue to grow the business.
Yeah. Well, you got to pivot and change, right? You got to pivot and change and move with the times. Well, is there anything, as much as we'd love to keep you here all day, is there anything we didn't tackle today that you'd like to get out there?
I think we nailed it. I think you guys asked the right questions, and we got to it. Yeah. So I don't think we solved all the world's problems.
Brother. But it's really helpful when you come armed with the knowledge that you have. And at the end of the day, I think we did a good thing here today because there's some folks out there that need to be educated, not just on what you guys are doing, but more importantly, I think some folks out there, need to know, hey, how do I find an opportunity to get in there and start investing my money in a place that's safe, secure, and I have no idea how to do this. And guess what? Our brother Craig does. So, we appreciate you taking the time to come on here and talk through this for everybody as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So we know you serve the markets here in Texas, Florida. Is there a few others in between there?
So our brokerage is licensed in Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, currently working to get licensed in Georgia and Mississippi, and probably going to be adding a few more states in the Southeast as the year rolls on. So we're waiting to be told where we need to go, and that's where we'll go.
I love it, dude. Well, our audience could dictate that. Start calling these guys. Hey, when they want to reach out to you, and right now we know you guys are servicing those southern states or southeastern states, right? Central Eastern. How do they get in touch with you?
You can reach me, 817-917-2862 is my phone number. Craig at catapultrp.com, and our website's catapultrp.com.
There it is, guys. And if you're watching this, you saw that just scroll right across the bottom of the screen. If you're listening in, go check the description of the podcast. And, I think if you're interested in investing and want to learn more about how to do that, Craig is 100% your guy. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he knows everybody from Texas to Florida. So he's going to make sure that they analyze the properties, get you into the right one, and help you make a sound, smart investment. So thank you so much, Craig, for being here. Dave, anything that you'd like to say?
No, today was very educational. The media out there has kind of scared everybody about Blackstone, J.P. Morgan Chase coming into the residential real estate world. What they don't know is the institutional investors have been around for about 20 years doing this. So
doing it for all the right reasons.
Yeah, and like you said, everybody seems to think they have a big market share. Last time I checked, 5% is not that big. So.
Unless you're talking about the equity you're going to gain year over year, and then guess what? Everybody's happy about that.
Yeah. So based on what Craig just said, if you're a realtor and looking to do some business with some investors, call Craig. Or if you're just looking for some real estate advice, he's a heck of a guy. Just give him a call, man.
Yeah, he's brilliant. We had a great time in the green room and an even better time here with you today on the podcast. So
absolutely,
we appreciate
enjoyed
it today. Well, guys, we're your real estate success partners. I'm Devin Dubuc.
I'm David Nguyen.
And if you want to check us out, come on over to realestatesuccesspartner.com. Again, that's realestatesuccesspartner.com. But we suggest hitting the video, as we always do, because you're going to want to meet Craig and get to know the guy you're going to be investing your money with. So come over to YouTube. Find us at the Dubuc team. You can also see us at IG, Facebook, TikTok. We're on all the major platforms at the Dubuc team. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. That way we can keep bringing great content back to you and keep introducing you to amazing people like Craig. So until the next time, we'll see you then.